Hey everybody, thanks for being here. Excited to talk about all things Walmart and the new content quality score through our lens. We'll get into what it is, why it is. We'll give you some opinions on some of the things we're seeing. But before we kind of get into that, a quick round of introductions. I'm Zan. I'm a Director of Solutions Specialist over here at WhyteSpyder. So I visit with a lot of brands, a lot of clients to understand how they're trying to improve their Walmart business and figure out how we can partner. I will shoot it over to Lily for her introduction, but I will say real quick fun fact about Lily. Very good squash player. So as we were talking about pickleball, if you joined us earlier, I think the transition will be easy for her, but one heck of a squash player. So Lily, I'll let you do your introduction, then I'll do a quick intro on Serge.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Lily Grant, Senior Director of Client Services here at WhyteSpyder. Like Sergio, I come from working at Walmart, so have an in-depth background of Walmart retail operations, etc. A big part of which is content quality, which we will get into, but first I'll pass it to Sergio.
Yeah, like Lily said, I'm Serge. I started my career at Walmart before moving over.
Fun fact about Sergio.
Oh, sorry.
Serge, go ahead. I'm clearly having a delay. You go ahead.
Okay, sure. I started my career at Walmart, moved over to the client services side, and now I work on our enablement team. That's a fancy way of saying just making sure that both our team members and our clients are as happy as possible with our software and are up to date on all new changes and all new improvements in the Walmart system.
Thanks, Serge. Can you hear me okay right now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, cool. Fun fact about Sergio, every May he decides to run 100 miles. If we have any runners in the group, he guts out 100 miles every year through the month of May. So fun fact about Serge. Guys, again, as we mentioned, we're going to talk all things content quality. So as in the chat, we will have a Q&A at the end. But if you think of something as we're going through it, feel free to put it in there. So to get started, Sergio, I'll kind of shoot over to you first. Scores exist. What are they? Why is it important to Walmart? Let's start there.
For sure. Yeah. So content quality scores, the easiest way that I like to think about it is it's going to be your report card for content on Walmart.com. So any item that exists on Walmart.com is going to have a score between 0 and 100. And that's going to tell you how great the content is or how not so great the content is. The reason that Walmart has implemented these content quality scores, I mean, they've been around since the really early days of Walmart.com, is because they want some sort of metric on how informative a PDP is, how appealing that PDP is to a customer. And then also that content quality score is going to be important for, obviously content quality is a metric that Walmart looks at. It's like I said, the report card, it's an evaluation, but also we want to make sure that we're thinking of the customer. That's something that Walmart really emphasizes, is that customer experience, making sure that we're, able to get the customer as much information as possible so they can make an informed buying decision. And that's really what's really at the core of a content quality score, is making sure that every single product has up-to-date information and is really shining so that we can replicate the experience of being in a brick and mortar store online. So whether you're shopping the aisles or whether you're browsing from home, you have the same level of quality as you would picking the item up in your hand.
And taking that a step further, Lily, can you tell us a little bit about why these metrics, why this content quality score is really hitting home with Walmart, and why they bring such an importance?
Yes. So as Sergio mentioned, the most important thing about content quality score, or one of them, is the user experience. But also Walmart is using these scores to categorize items internally and improve things like their search results. And so, for example, one thing that we'll be talking a lot about are attributes, which in many cases are back-end metrics, but Walmart uses those to categorize items and organize things such as the left-hand navigation on site. These attribution and also generalized content help with search results as well. And so the better that your content is, or the more relevant it is to certain search results, the more likely it is that it will show for those results. So it's very important for SEO as well, which works hand in hand with paid media.
That's a great point to tie in the importance of organic rank and the paid media piece long term. Love to hear that. How, if we have brands that are listening, or maybe that are new, how can they learn what their content quality scores are today, how to improve them? Where can they go to really delve into that?
I can take this one. So I'll start with a little bit of a history lesson, go back in time a little bit. So when I started my career at Walmart in 2018, content quality scores were really different. In a lot of ways, it was a little bit difficult to get your content quality score a lot of the time. Sometimes you had to rely on your merchant in order to get those scores. But that was, early days of a lot of the changes that we've seen at Walmart. And a lot of those content quality scores were still being perfected. They were still being worked on to make sure that every single item has the proper weights. So an example I like to give is I used to work in the appliances space. Back when I started working on content quality scores, the condition of the item, whether it was new, refurbished, used, anything like that, was worth a ton of content quality score points, like, really like 30 points. So that was something that we had to change as merchants. And all of those changes trickled down into the content quality score. So back to your question, Zan, well, if all these changes are happening, if all these minute weight changes and fluctuations are happening, how am I going to keep up with that? The first thing that I would point you to as a North Star are going to be the Walmart style guides. So the Walmart style guides are published by Walmart. They are very long documents because they go in depth on content, imagery, copy, attributes, basically breaking down every single component as small as possible to show you what an A+ PDP would look like. You can also look inside of Item 360. So this is something that wasn't available, 5 years ago, but it is available today, that you can go into Item 360 and pull your content quality scores for all your items and have really a sense of where your catalog stands today. And then finally, because I work at WhyteSpyder, I have access to SKU Ninja, which is an awesome tool that gives you content quality scores right at your fingertips. And then we'll also layer on the original score the item had when you first logged into SKU Ninja, so that you have a delta. You're able to see the change before and after of a content quality score. So really long way of saying, I'll just give you the TLDR of where you learn about content quality scores. That'd be style guides, Item 360. And if you work with us, it's SKU Ninja.
Thanks, Serge. And awesome insight from your days back at Walmart in consideration of kind of that really intriguing category, right? Appliances. Lily, I'm curious, in your experience back in the day, what were your conversations like when talking about content with suppliers or trying to navigate that? What was that like from your perspective?
Yes. So when I was at Walmart, I worked in apparel, which has a lot of nuances when it comes to content. And for example, you want to provide the best shopping experience for people choosing different sizes of apparel. So either having images of multiple size models or a sizing guide, etc. All those help, first of all, the customer experience. And second of all, they help mitigate returns, which can be a big expense for e-commerce marketplaces. And so it works hand in hand, and it's beneficial for the customer, but also beneficial for the retailer like Walmart, because hopefully it reduces that return rate.
Two very different categories. Awesome insight. So we've talked a little bit about what it is, why it is, but let's get into the weeds of what's changed. You know, if we go back 6 months from now, what was happening versus today. Lily, would love to understand what some of those biggest changes are and what suppliers can kind of expect to see.
Yes, I am going to go ahead and share my screen again. So we'll have a visual of the before and after weighting for content quality scores to help illuminate what has actually changed. And so this is before, so prior to July 12th, when this content quality flip switched, we had 40% of the score being the content aspects. So product name, description, key features, and images. Those were all weighted differently, depending by category and product type under this old content scoring system. And then 60% of the whole score was made up of attributes. So that comprises of required attributes, recommended attributes, and then ratings and reviews, which actually only made up around 2% of the score. And it's funny that there's a distinguishing between the required and recommended attributes, because if you don't complete those recommended ones, then you'll have a lower content quality score. So we like to say that all attributes are required. And many vendors do not realize this from the get-go because so many attributes are not required during item setup that they will not complete them. And then they'll have a starting content quality score in the 50s. And so that's actually one of the changes that Walmart is making with the new item setup process, in that a lot more attributes are required. And so the starting content quality score for net new items has now jumped to around 85% because they're requiring more information. So with that, let's go into what is changing or how to learn more about content quality. Do you want to take this, Sergio?
Yeah, this is just some visuals to accompany what I was saying earlier, where we have on the Walmart side, we have style guides and item 360, where you can learn more. This is one of the updates that Lily was talking about earlier, that now item 360 will actually highlight the attributes that are outstanding and that are known to boost content quality score. So that's a fantastic new feature. And then on the right-hand side, you have a similar function in our SKU Ninja system. So this is just really quick visual aid if you want to just see what that would look like inside of the different tools, but you can forge ahead, Lily.
Great. So these are the metrics that make up the new content quality score. We might refer to it as beta score or content quality score 2.0 here. So I'm sure many of you noticed that as of July 12th, you may be logged into your item 360 and noticed that your content quality scores had dropped by around 15% on average. And that is not the case for all categories. It did vary category by category, but at this point, around 99% of categories have had their new scores rolled out yet. So you've likely already seen the impact. And at a glance, the main change that's happened here is that the weighting for content scores and attribution scores have flipped. So now that customer-facing content makes up 60% of the score. Additionally, those 4 aspects of customer-facing content, so name, description, key features, and images, those are all weighted evenly at 15%. And so there's no differences there like there were previously. Moving into the attribution score. So I mentioned upon item setup, you'll be required to fill out a lot more attributes than you used to be. This will help with Walmart's categorization, but for existing items, there's probably around 2 to 3 times as many attributes that count for your content quality score. So we'll get into what to do next, but one of the things will be to look through all of those attributes and see what is not completed that Walmart is asking you to complete. Additionally, there are a lot of existing attributes that are becoming closed list attributes. So before, you were probably able to input any value for certain attributes, and now it's only Walmart is requesting that you choose a value from a closed list. This will help them with things like cleaning up the left-hand navigation on site.
I also think it's worth mentioning in that attribution portion. It's just as Lily kind of mentioned, it's been a little finicky. So navigating that can sometimes be cumbersome. Stay after it. There is a way to actually get that stick, but it can sometimes be a multi attempt approach to get those to stay on there. So Lily, thank you for the kind of the before and after. Awesome stuff to see. What do you think from a perspective of, and Sergio I think touched on this a little bit, but why did Walmart decide to make these updates?
Yeah,
Yes.
Lily, you can go ahead.
Thank you. So Walmart is trying to improve that customer experience online. This is the main part of it. Again, the categorization and SEO are important factors. So for these attributes, Zan, you alluded to this, but content maintenance is a process. It's not something that you set and forget. You need to be checking it probably monthly to see what changes have been made and what now needs to be optimized in order to have that best in class 95% or above content quality score. And one thing that we see about that maintenance process is once you complete additional required attributes, then your content score aspects might actually go down because now they want keywords incorporated into the product name or short description that you've inputted in the attributes. So by having additional attributes, et cetera, Walmart's able to hone in more so on what the product actually is, how to match that with what the customer is looking for. And so that's another main goal for Walmart.
Serge, is there anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think I want to maybe shine a little bit of light on attributes that have, for many people, are like last priority, right? Because you have to think about your copy, you have to think about your title because those are being displayed to the customer. You certainly have to think about images because if they're low resolution, that's going to reflect poorly on your product. So attributes are sort of, lowest on the pecking order, but there's a real world, the real world application of that attribution is not only is it going to help your content quality score, but there are also, Lily touched on this a little bit earlier, but there are some left-hand navigation experiences that are completely based on attributes. So let's say I was an ice cream or a dessert consumer, and I had a dairy allergy, like I was lactose intolerant or something. Well, if I search ice cream on Walmart.com and I use the left-hand navigation to filter for dairy-free, I'm only going to see those products that are properly attributed as dairy-free. If you are the vendor of a product that is dairy-free and ice cream, but it's not tagged as such, it will not show up in those experiences. So as soon as a customer starts to filter, as soon as the customer starts to narrow down their search, it can start precluding a lot of items from even having a chance to convert for that customer. So that's something that I guess people don't really think about. And hopefully with this new emphasis and in the content quality score 2.0 on attributes, this will be a lot more clear for vendors and it'll lead to a better shopping experience for all Walmart customers.
I also think it's really interesting that with the launch of this new content quality score system, Walmart has said from the get-go that they're going to re-review and tweak the system twice yearly. And so we'll be expecting more consistent updates, which will make that maintenance process that much more important.
For sure.
I'm glad we have you guys on this call. Such good insight. I have a feeling we're going to continue to be talking about attribution as those updates come. We'll be here to do an updated webinar and all that as it comes. But Lily, as we continue to station, or what are you expecting if brands don't adhere to some of these new scoring systems or some of the new style guide compliances? What do you think that's going to look like for brands that say, you know what?
Yes. So I think Zan is asking what will happen if you do not optimize your content quality score. And I think the main loss there would be discoverability on site. So one of the main pillars of e-commerce is, can you find an item on site? For Walmart search specifically, we know that around 40% of customers find their item via search. So it's really important to show up in search results. And Walmart is categorizing these search results based on an item's relevancy to that query. So if you're searching for protein powder, or the example Sergio just used of dairy-free ice cream, it is reading the content and attributes of items in order to sort by what's most relevant for the consumer and try to display what's most relevant, what has the best content first for the consumer. This is also really important for paid media. So we know that Walmart has really been focusing on their advertising capabilities, and they're unique as an advertiser because they have a relevancy threshold. And so say you want to advertise your dairy-free ice cream, you have to organically rank above a certain threshold to even spend against the keyword dairy-free ice cream. And so that makes it really important that the algorithm views your organic SEO as relevant enough in order to even qualify for any paid media spend.
I think the only other thing I want to add is just, for the brands that are in store, this is top of mind for your merchant, and this will help those conversations go over smoothly, that you are adhering to
exactly
the new guidelines that Walmart has laid out. So,
another strategic priority for Walmart is just omni-channel retail. And so even though many store shared vendors, the majority of their sales come from stores, I'm sure that everybody's merchants are also asking them about their online penetration. And so we really need to focus on optimizing the e-commerce business as well. And one of the kind of low-hanging fruit there is being able to have a best-in-class content quality score. You can bring that to your merchant and show that you're putting dedicated effort into your e-commerce presence as well.
Also, just from a sales perspective, I'll jump in quickly. Yesterday during Walmart, I also had a webinar talking about these scores. This is obviously supplemental to that, but they were talking about how a item on Walmart with a score of 80% or above is going to be 2.5 times more likely to actually convert. So, it's not just, it has so many different applications, and one of those is directly related to sales.
Yes, of course, that's what we're ultimately trying to do here, is increase sales on site specifically. And we've done studies showing the correlation between content quality score and sales on site, and found a significant lift there. So yes, it does actually matter for selling more on site.
Awesome insight. Whenever we think about how brands, let's say, okay, we're going to do it. We need to make sure we're staying up to date. Sergio, what do you think is best from a timing perspective? Like, we have holiday coming up. Do you think that's a fair ask, that everything's updated by then? Like, what would you tell to suppliers for timing of getting all of this knocked out?
Yeah, the timing, I always say, and I've said this on webinars before, so this might be a repeat, but I always say that the timing should be yesterday. There are a lot of tools inside of Walmart that allow you to sort of stay up to date on content changes and give you the tools to implement those changes. Content, I think, is the foundation, right? So as soon as you can get that nailed down, you can start, doing other great stuff. But particularly talking about holiday as a benchmark, I would really suggest that everyone on this call, everyone that works with Walmart, to do that as soon as possible, because we all know that holiday, November, even October starts to come around with Halloween and fall. It's going to be really crazy. So even though this might be a particularly hectic season at your business and your brand, it still behooves you to go ahead and invest time and energy into getting these content scores as high as possible, so that you can basically do maintenance in October, November, and December, rather than doing the whole undertaking of bringing these scores from 60 to 95. You can do a lot more. You can do a lot of smaller tweaks that are going to be more efficient for you going into the busiest quarter of the year. And I think I'll end there. I lost my train of thought on the last point, but really, as soon as possible is great timing.
Yeah. So for the folks we have on the call that are maybe trying to do this themselves, or folks that maybe might need some assistance, like how can they go about fixing this themselves, or do you have to have a third party?
It is not required to have a third party. So as Sergio alluded to, Walmart is launching a lot of resources for vendors to gain visibility into their content quality scores and what they need to do to fix those scores. So within Item 360, you have your dashboard that shows the current makeup of your scores, and you can hone in on individual items, and Walmart will highlight the attributes that need your attention, that either need a value or for you to fix. You can do it in bulk via the maintenance process for Walmart. They're releasing a new API suite that will hopefully make that easier, but right now it is somewhat manual of needing to sweep through your entire catalog for the content quality score optimization. So I think that's really where third parties like WhyteSpyder come in handy, because we do have more bulk scalable solutions for optimizing and maintaining your content quality score. So I'll let you speak to that, Sergio.
Yeah, I would say you could certainly do SKU Ninja as a subscription, but we also have a content excellence program. And the way we like to describe the content excellence program is just going to be a broad brush across your whole assortment. Basically, a plug and play or a set it and forget it solution, where you send us an item list and we will make sure that every single item on that list gets up to the target score, a score that is going to be beneficial and is actually going to be helpful for you on walmart.com. We have a lot of information about the content excellence program, but suffice to say, we have had some really remarkable results, and the speed is really, I would say the speed is the first part that's really impressive. And then the second part is a lot of the maintenance that would have to go into maintaining these scores is handled completely by the CEP team, meaning that they will let you know, hey, the waiting for this attribute changed, or the recommendations for titles have changed, but you wouldn't have to do any of those changes. You would basically just have to tell them, yep, we're fine with you making those changes. Go ahead and apply that across our catalog. So, a really great broad brush solution.
It seemed whenever this update came that a lot of suppliers were kind of surprised or taken off guard. How can brands make sure that they are getting ahead of these changes to make sure they're staying top of mind in Walmart's ecosystem?
I think that's where a lot of the value from working with third parties such as WhyteSpyder comes, because we are the Walmart experts. We are researching Walmart news every day. And so we have been preparing with our vendors for several, probably months prior to this switch, to help set expectations and try to get ahead of filling out some of those net new attributes. That said, Walmart does communicate with their vendors via like retail link announcements, and they have an incredible database for help documents in Item 360. And so I find that you are able to hunt down those answers when you do look for them. But I think it's also helpful to be as proactive as possible, which is how we try to set our suppliers up for success.
So with that in mind, you know, I guess, Sergio, I'll throw it to you and then back to Lily. What do you think the biggest advantages of having that Walmart expert in your corner all the time? What do you think the biggest takeaway is?
Yeah, I'm inclined to gravitate back towards the example of holiday and thinking about that season of the year to, align incentives. But really, I have worked now many cyber weeks, and something is always going to need your attention in October, November, and December, whether that's, an inventory hiccup, whether it's a last minute promotion that you want to run on Walmart.com on Black Friday. There are some high level strategic actions that will need your attention in October, November, and December. So I may have said this earlier in different words, but as soon as you can knock out content, or you can set content sort of on autopilot, you can then focus on sort of the bigger issues that are specific to holiday and that are really going to affect your sales during that period. You're not going to get very far if you want to promote a promotion or a sale that you're having on a particular product with your merchant. A good way to start that conversation is saying that this item has a spectacular content quality score. The opposite of that, where your merchant sees that this item that is supposed to be on promotion has a negative poor score, that's not going to really help your argument in getting that item promoted and selling during the Big Six.
I think there are always ways that we can improve selling online, and Walmart in particular has so many nuances. We always say to our vendors in partnership with them, please bring us your issues or unanswerable questions, and we will help you find an answer and a solve to them. That's the kind of interesting troubleshooting for us that helps us improve our clients' business and helps us understand Walmart better and how to make the experience better for their customers.
I love it. I mean, I think that is an important role, whether we're working on the grocery side of the business or hard lines, whatever it is, you can really gather that expertise that might be cross category that's now applicable to your brands. And we bring that breadth of knowledge. I say all of that to say, if you guys need any help, you've heard the word CEP, our Content Excellence Program. We most certainly would love to chat with you guys about that. So if you want help achieving strong content quality scores and style guide compliance across your catalog, an awesome program to help make sure we achieve that. I am going to pause and stop there. We do have a lot of questions. I want to make sure we leave ample time to get through. But before I do that, Lily, Sergio, anything else you guys want to say before we get into the Q&A?
I think I'll just add, while that bulk content quality optimization we offer through CEP is the main takeaway for optimizing these beta scores, we do offer much more in-depth services such as the SEO tracking and search management and recommendations that a lot of the time goes hand in hand with continuing to improve that online experience. So it's really holistic of everything that you have to look at for your e-commerce business with the goal of increasing share and penetration online. And this is just one piece that makes up that pie.
That's a really good point, Lily. I think in my earlier comment, you can let us handle the content and you can focus on the strategic side, certainly, but you can also have us handle the content and help you with the strategic side. So it's not like we just do the content and then leave you out to dry. No, we can help you with every part of the item life cycle. So I think that's a good button before going into Q&A.
Yeah. And as, I mean, we're going to be applicable across a lot of business units. So as we're going through this, feel free to keep them going. We'll go until we run out of time. Lily, Sergio, I'm going to leave it up to you guys for who answers this, but can you define the different elements in attribution score for the new scoring system? I'm not sure what some of these are and what I.
Yes, sorry if we glazed over that earlier, but I will share my screen again. Okay. Looking at the attribution score, so we have the attribution importance model. Essentially, every required attribute has a specific weight in the content quality scoring system, so some attributes are more important than others. This information is actually not vendor facing, so ultimately we recommend filling out every attribute, but we can help with ranking the actual importance of those attributes. Then we have the Omni spec. So Walmart, in conjunction with this, has been updating their item setup process. Back in the day, we used to have to set up items separately for in stores and online. And now there is one process for setting up items both in stores and online. So that process has been streamlined a lot, but it does come with nuances, such as having to fill out additional attributes or ensuring that your content is synced from GDSN prior to setting up net new items, which Walmart does recommend. And so there are some additional steps with that new Omni spec, but by switching from category spec to product type spec, that helps Walmart identify the most relevant information that needs to be completed during the item setup process.
Then we have a kind of a follow-up question for that in regards to attribution specifically. For example, or let me go back. Can we add more than one attribution to the fields? For example, with diet needs, you can only choose one option. At times, products are dairy-free, salt-free, and gluten-free. So how would you make a recommendation to that?
It's tough. That's why the system isn't perfect. So there we recommend for you to choose either the highest trafficked search term. So if you're able to use keyword data like we have in SKU Ninja, we recommend whatever keyword that you're specifically targeting to rank the highest on. Otherwise, you can choose whatever is most relevant to the item. Or in many cases, you are able to select more than one attribute by putting in a comma delimited list. But ultimately, I think that's a case of trying to use your best judgment, unfortunately. It's like how for many items, it's asking you to put in a sports team for items that are not affiliated with the sports team. So you might just have to put in none or NA in many situations.
I would say that this is a case where working with a lot of different items and seeing a lot of different items on Walmart and Item 360, this is maybe a solution to a problem where a lot of vendors would just keyword stuff as much as possible in the attributes and even put in keywords that were not relevant to the particular product. So by limiting this, Walmart is doing a little bit of quality control and making sure that yes, we can only allow one attribute here, but that attribute has a much higher likelihood of being accurate. Whereas before, when it was sort of an open field, you would just see, you know, like a small book about what all the features of that particular product.
We have a question that's kind of opposite of that now. So what I have options now, we're going to, what if product is not allergen free? It seems there isn't an option if the health claim attribution doesn't actually apply.
We have seen that where Walmart on that. So we've talked about how they're moving towards closed value lists for many attributes, but they don't always include a none. And so I think it's still open, but Walmart actually right now has a survey out to all vendors regarding the updated content quality, etc. So that's something that I would definitely submit to Walmart as like something that maybe you're having issues with under the new scoring system. Otherwise, I would probably recommend leaving that field blank for now because that's the kind of claim that you don't want to be making in your item. And if it is requiring you to fill out that, I would select whatever is most relevant and also open a ticket with Walmart for them to remove that either from your PDP if it's showing, or to give you that option of selecting none.
There's another question in regards to this slide. Someone is asking, is shelving referring to item categorization, variation, or something else, question mark, in regards to this?
Yes, that, because we didn't get through all the attributes before, I'll run through the rest quickly, starting with shelving. So you can tell your item's primary shelf by the breadcrumbs at the top of a product page. So you'll see like the breadcrumbs with backslashes. So if this is the dairy-free ice cream, you might see first ice cream, then dairy-free ice cream, then chocolate dairy-free ice cream. So essentially going down the funnel of what's most relevant for that item. And the credit that you get here is if your shelving is relevant to the item. So you want to make sure, one, that you do have a primary shelf. You can see those breadcrumbs, because if you don't, then the item will be undiscoverable. And two, you want to make sure that primary shelf is relevant to the item. Sometimes items will get switched onto seasonal shelves, like New Year, New You, we see frequently, but that's not necessarily the shelf that you want your item to be on year round for optimal discovery.
Lily, I'm just going to take over for just
Oh,
a second, just to show people, because if you're not familiar with what breadcrumbs are, it'd just be this path that you see up here. So in this case, exactly how Lily was saying, you have food, then you have frozen food, then you have pint ice cream. What you would want to change here, or submit a ticket to change, is if it was saying exactly as Lily was saying, if it said like summer ice cream classics or something like that, a seasonal shelf that would maybe not be relevant come fall. That's something that you would want to action on. But just a quick little screen share.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And this is not something that vendors have agency over. So ultimately you will need to open a ticket with Walmart if you want that recategorized, or that's another reason to work with a solution provider, because it's a process that we can help you with.
Really good question in regards to scores. Is it possible, realistic, to achieve a content quality score of 100% for items? Generally, what would you recommend for an item at 96% where item 360 isn't really offering any recommendation?
It's the elusive 100% content quality score. So I will say, no, that's not extremely realistic to be getting to 100% for your whole catalog. We do see some items that make it to the 100% score, but it's less of something that can easily be achieved by completing all of Walmart's recommendations. So the barometer that most merchants refer to and that we use for our clients for best in class is a 95% or above. So I think it's likely that if you're at a 96% content quality score, you are considered best in class and fully optimized. So I think it's worth going through that maintenance, checking back in item 360 for additional recommendations, but I hope that you do not lose sleep over reaching that 100% content quality score, because it is really difficult to achieve.
I will say the silver lining there is that a lot of it really depends on category, right? Every category has a different set of rules of how you would get to 100%. Some categories have sort of like an impossible 2% that, no one in the category realistically is going to hit. And so it's not like you're at 96 and your top competitors are going to be at 100. For the most part, we see a ceiling being consistent across a category.
We have a very good question, and I'm sure there's some brands that were wondering this. Do you work with PIMs as far as assisting or addressing attribution gaps?
We are actively working on that. Yes. So we understand and know that many vendors like to use a content syndication tool for their source of truth across different marketplaces. We are optimizing that process of ensuring that our vendors can continue using those content syndication tools as they want to, because of course we just focus on Walmart right now, whereas they have a whole slew of marketplaces. So currently our process for that looks like we'll provide optimizations and recommendations and then help vendors sync that with their content syndication tool. We do acknowledge that under the new scoring system, not all tools are updated to include all of the net new attributes yet. And so we are hoping to help continue partnering to make sure that our vendors can get those attributes completed. If not, we can use a two-faceted model of completing attribution via our SKU Ninja tool, while still making sure that all of the customer-facing content is synced into your PIM.
For those folks that might not be selling 1P, can you educate them on how they would get access? I know we mentioned Item 360 in the call, but how would those third-party sellers get this type of information?
Yes, thank you. And sorry, we haven't acknowledged Marketplace specifically, but like Item 360, Walmart does provide a lot of incredible tools in Supplier Center. So for Marketplace vendors, you'll want to refer to Supplier Center. And I believe there's a content quality or growth tab on the left-hand navigation where it'll essentially provide you with all of the same metrics. And so it actually provides more visibility into listing quality, which includes things like shipping speed, but you can hone down and see the content quality score specifically and what you need to optimize in Supplier Center as well for those 3P vendors.
Thank you for that. Whenever we talk about attribution, content scores, you hit on this earlier, but just to be crystal clear, does how your attribution, does how your content quality score, will that affect performance when you're running paid media on Walmart.com?
Yeah, I can take this one. Certainly, it will really affect paid. We like to talk about, unlike other marketplaces on other retailers, Walmart's organic and media traffic really work like tandem climbers, where, well, first we already talked about the threshold, where if you don't hit a minimum organic threshold on Walmart, you simply can't bid on that keyword. So that's already the first incentive, that it's sort of a binary where unless you hit that organic relevancy, you just can't spend money on that keyword. But once you do hit that threshold, you are able to get way more efficient spend and better placement based on how your organic ranking continues to grow. So although on other marketplaces, you can maybe just pay and just get yourself into the top spot, that's not necessarily the case on Walmart, where really focusing on organic is going to help you move up from, page 3 to page 2 to page 1 all the time, making it more efficient and offering you better placement based on that organic ranking. And that organic ranking in large part is going to hinge on that content quality score.
There is a question in regards to, does the number of orders impact any of your Walmart content quality scores?
The number of orders does not impact content quality scores, but that is important for your SEO ranking. So if we're talking about the search algorithm, one relatively small aspect of that is the content quality score, but even more important to how you're ranking organically is your conversion rate. So how many people are actually clicking into and purchasing your item.
Whenever this one's really specific, if we can't fill in an attribution, for example, third-party accreditation symbol on a product package, and NA is not an option, what do you suggest? I'm not sure if that's too specific.
Yeah, I would like to know maybe the category here. If it's something that's being called out a lot, I would maybe reach out and just file a ticket with that team, with the content team that is surfacing this to you. Because if it isn't applicable, it seems like this, just from a really cursory glance, it seems that this is referring to resellers who are authorized resellers, and that's why, you know, they need third-party verification, something like that. If that doesn't apply to you, and it's detracting a lot from your score, I would maybe surface that to the file a ticket with that particular team that's bringing it to your attention. And
Thank
also,
you.
I would anticipate this maybe changing in the future as Walmart does these twice a year audits of their system.
Awesome feedback. Whenever, and I didn't think we'd get this, but we got one. We're talking A+ content. So your videos, your feature sets, which just to shout out, that is a functionality within SKU Ninja where you can actually build that out and publish that. So we think A+ content is awesome. But the question is, how does A+ content contribute to increasing conversion rates?
Good question. So A+ content right now does not count for content quality score. I'll say that. It might in the future, we've heard, but it does not currently. As for conversion rates, it is proven to increase conversion rates. I have that exact metric. I don't want to misquote it, so I can try pulling that up.
And while she's doing that, I'll just speak a little bit to just intuitively from a customer perspective. Having more information, having more brand trust is really great for conversion. We all know that from shopping ourselves. And A+ content is like the way to do that, especially on Walmart.com. You want to make sure that you have as much below the fold content. And I will say, particularly to anyone on this call who's selling in a higher AUR category, basically where price tags are higher, content, A+ content is going to be even more important for you, because that threshold for making a buying decision is much higher. For, you know, like $1,000 television, you want to know every single bit of detail that you can for that TV. Whereas if you were, you know, selling, you know, like a gumball or a lollipop, you really don't need to invest as much, because the threshold for making that buying decision for the customer is much lower. So even though it is helpful for everyone, every category, every AUR, I would say the higher you get with dollar signs, the more I would really invest in that A+ content.
And the metric I'm seeing for that is that after adding rich media, companies see up to a 32% increase in conversion rates. So that's up to 30%. It's not average 30%, but yes, you should see an increase in conversion rate with the addition of rich media.
Awesome. Thank you for checking on that. We have a really quick one that I think is just going to be yes, but I'll let you guys confirm that. As a marketplace seller, would listing quality be the same as content quality?
No,
No.
Sarah. So content quality is one aspect that makes up listing quality. Listing quality also accounts for things such as shipping speed. So can you offer 2-day shipping to the customer? And ratings and reviews are a larger portion of listing quality.
And you also have damages in there. And so if you have a lot of damages, even if you're selling, you know, 1 million units a week, damages can really tank your listing quality score.
In regards to pricing, does having the same price as a competitor change score, or is it better?
It's always better to have a lower price. That's Walmart's bread and butter, is everyday low pricing. While price does not matter in the content quality score, it is important for SEO again. So naturally, items with a lower price are favored in the search algorithm.
Awesome. First one about reviews. Great question. For reviews, is scoring based on the number of reviews? Is it the average star rating? Both? What is considered good? Reviews aren't covered in style guides, so there isn't much guidance.
And this is one, Lily, that I would say they did speak a little bit to yesterday, and it seems like Walmart is reviewing how reviews play into content quality. They are, I think, putting a pause right now on having reviews play into content quality scores. So that's a little bit in flux as we speak. That's the latest that we have from Walmart. But historically, I can speak to this, that it has been number of reviews and average star rating. And I believe it is a certain threshold number as opposed to, like a category average. So as soon as you I'm making up a number here, but if you have 15 or above reviews, then you get sort of credit.
I believe, yeah, I believe that floor is 8 reviews that Walmart is requesting. But that's a great observation that we are looking for increased clarity there. So definitely something that we can bring back.
Serge, Lily, thank you guys so much for the time this afternoon to talk all things Walmart scoring. We appreciate everyone that hopped on. Hopefully this was extremely helpful and we were able to bring some clarity. If you have any follow-up questions or want to visit with us, please do reach out. We'd love to visit with you about all things Walmart.com. Thank you guys again. Lily, Sergio, great job. Thank you so much.